you guys keep doing this one mistake that is ruining your manifestations. So let's say you have been doing visualization, or you have been doing scripting or affirmation or sex, whatever technique you use, you have been using it correctly, right? You tap into your imagination and you already have your desire in your mind, and you do it consistently, and you also do it correctly, right? You bring up the state on how you would feel if you already had your desire. So you're doing everything right, but still you don't see insignificant changes in your external reality, right? But you're detached, you truly let go, and you're not needy, you're not desperate, right? But there's still this slight annoyance, that slight emptiness, like you're doing everything right, but still you can't see anything external change. But you can't see your external reality change, right? There's not even little bit signs like your manifestation is coming your way. And that is because most of the time you do everything correctly, but the one thing you miss is the background noise. The one thing you miss in your manifestation technique is the background noise. So there's two parts when it comes to manifesting, right? The one, the first part is the actual technique. Manifestation technique or the routine that you do, right? For example, whenever you go to sleep, you might do a sat session, and whenever you wake up, you might do some affirmations or visualization. So whatever technique or routine you use, you keep doing that. That's not a problem. But the problem arises when you miss the second part of manifestation, which is you being on defense mode. And this can be considered as offense, right? And this is you being aware of your inner speech. So there's this background noise that keeps on rambling about things that we all have inside of us, right? And this background noise, this inner self, we want it to be in our control. So even though we might be doing the techniques correctly, like you might be doing affirmations correctly, you might be doing visualizations correctly, and you might be in a state, you might be in the state of how you would feel if you were in desired reality. Everything is right, but still your background noise may mess it up, right? So we want to make sure that we take control of our inner speech, and whenever we, like, whatever gets our attention, our inner speech will give an opinion about it, right? So for example, if I go to the gym and let's say I'm fat, right? My inner voice might say, like, why are you even trying this? Everyone is looking at you, you are going to be embarrassed, you're going to do something wrong and people are going to laugh. So the inner voice keeps sabotaging our manifestation, right? It keeps bringing up those old emotions back, because your ego doesn't like change. Your ego wants things to stay the same, because your old way of thinking, your old way of being ensure your survival. So if there is a change taking place, your ego takes it at, okay, there's some danger around here, because change means, like, back in the old days, change, like, if you change the way you were being, you would be hunted by wild predators, right? So the ego doesn't like change. The ego likes things to be the same. It likes homeostasis. So when you start changing your overall way of being, when you start changing because you have been doing your offense correctly, the ego doesn't like that, right? So it changes your inner speech, it changes your inner dialogue, and it wants you to go back to your old way of doing, old way of being, right? So how can we make sure that our inner speech directly aligns with our desires, and how we can make, and how we can use our inner speech to our advantage rather than we being at the disadvantage, right? So let's talk about it. Your inner speech determines your relationship to the world, right? So you keep doing your affirmations, your visualizations, whatever technique you use, you have been doing it the right way, right? You are bringing up the state, you're doing it consistently, everything is good. But still, are you giving attention to how your relationship is to your world, to the universe, to God, right? Because if you generally think that life is out to get you, if you generally think that life is hostile towards you, or you if you behave like a victim towards your world, then how much of you try to manifest specific desires, it's not going to work. Check out my previous video where I talk about general beliefs. This video is somewhat similar to that, right? So it is very much important that your relationship to the world is conducive to achieving your desires, and your inner speech controls your relationship to your desires. So whenever you go through life, whenever life throws random shit at you, sometimes an unexpected bill may pop up, sometimes you might have to deal with something that is not like you don't want to deal with it, but you have to deal with it. So there are a lot of things that can happen that can affect your frequency, right? That can affect your state of consciousness, that can affect your emotions. So it's very much important that you don't treat life like life is out to get you, like life is hostile towards you, like you are the victim in your life. We don't want that. But our inner speech, most of the time, most often than not, it tends to victimize ourselves, right? It doesn't, like, first of all, it doesn't pay attention to our relationship to the world. Second of all, even if it does pay attention to our relationship to the world, it only does it in a negative way, right? So what we want to do is we want to change our relationship to the world. That is the second part of manifestation, right? Trying to manifest specific desires is good, it's great actually, and you have to do it. But at the same time, we still want to make sure that we are controlling our general circumstances. We want to control how our way of life is moving forward, right? So how do we do it? How do we change our relationship to the world? For example, let me give you an example so make this things more concrete. So you might be doing your technique regularly, you might be trying to manifest a specific desires, that's great. But what do you think about the world? Do you think like this? So if you keep having thoughts like whatever I do, things don't work out. Why am I even not? Why am I not getting clients? Why am I not finding love? Right? If you keep having thoughts that is opposite to whatever you're trying to desire, or even in general, if you have this kind of thinking, then the world will be out to get you, right? If you think the world is against you, the world will be against you, because the world is a mirror, right? It doesn't care what is good for you, it only cares about the vibration, what you emit, right? So it's very much important you control your inner speech. If you regularly think like this, for example, my world always takes care of me, or my world always takes care of me financially. If you have this way of thinking regularly, if you feel grateful that the world is taking care of you, God is taking care of you, then just think about how your life will turn around. Because most of the time, most of you would not pay attention to this inner speech. You not pay attention to your relationship to the world. Or even if you do pay attention, it will be in a negative way. So we want to consciously take control of our inner speech so that we can change our relationship to the world. So Vadim Zeeland talks about this in his book Reality and Surfing. It's a great book, you can check it out. But here's what he says about this, right? You control your reality by controlling your relationship to the world. So the question is, how do I control my relationship to the world? I'm glad you asked. So you have your general thoughts, right? So let's say, so this is a typical day. So you have your general thoughts. And most of the time, you don't have control over these thoughts, right? So let's say when your day starts, you do your manifestation technique, right? And if you're not aware, the technique is not important. What important is your state? What important is your overall way of being? I just wanted to make that nuance over here, right? So you do your technique and you bring your desire to the now, you bring your desire to the present moment, and you have your desire in your mind, right? So that is the technique you're doing. So whatever technique that lets you facilitate that process, it can be visualization, it can be affirming, it can be whatever. So let's take for example, you do your technique at the start of your day, and when you end your day, you do a sat session, right? You induce a drowsy state, and after you have induced a drowsy state, you imagine like you already have your desire. So you do a sat session before you fall asleep, and you do a technique the moment you wake up. So, this and this, if you combine them both, this is like 5% of your day. The rest 95%, you don't take control of it, right? You are not in control. You let your mind wander, you let your thoughts wander, you don't take conscious control, and you think just by focusing on 5% of your day, you can manifest all your desires and dreams, which will not happen, or you will struggle a lot before it happens, right? We want to take control of at least 51% of our day, right? And you being in control for just 5% of your day doesn't give enough power for your manifestation to come into fruition and materialize into your physical reality. So what can we do to take control of our thoughts, which is 95% of our day? And that is the answer I'm going to give right now. So I want you to take a statement, right? So in reality transurfing, Vadim Zirin called this the amalgam technique, but the name doesn't matter. So I want you to take a thought, and this is not an affirmation. This is not a technique. You don't try to do it, you don't force it, you don't do anything. Like you're not taking any action over here, right? So you just take a thought. For example, my world takes care of me, right? So you take a particular thought that is conducive to your goals, that is conducive to your desires, or you can take a general thought like my world takes care of me, and that single thought in itself will change your life for the better, right? So you take a thought, and what you do is you consciously inject it throughout your day. With or without any emotion, in a subtle, nonchalant way. So here's how I do it, right? So I wake up, I do my manifestation ritual, and then whenever I get my free time, whenever I become conscious, I become aware of my thoughts, because that is also important. You can't do this if you're not aware, right? You need to be aware throughout your day. So whenever I feel like I'm getting like distracted by external reality, I wake up, I become aware, and I say the statement. For example, my world takes care of me. Simple. Whenever I'm commuting to work, whenever I'm driving, whenever I use the restroom, like, whenever I get the chance, I use that statement. I repeat it in my mind, and I don't do it. I don't force any emotion. I don't force myself to do. I just become aware, and I just repeat this statement again and again and again throughout my day, and that's it. Right? I'm not forcing it. I'm not trying it. I'm not doing anything. I just say to myself, my world takes care of me. My world takes care of me financially. My world always brings me love. My world loves me. My world always looks out for the best for me. You can take any subjective statement according to your own life, right? Or you can even take specific desires and incorporate it into this thought. For example, my world always brings me high ticket clients effortlessly. It works, right? So you can take a generic statement or you can take a specific statement, but this has to be done without any emotion or with emotion. If emotion naturally pops up, it's good, but don't force it, right? So you're not doing anything, you're not trying anything, you're not forcing anything. This is not a technique, this is not an affirmation. You should not be like, my world takes care of me, my world takes care of me, my world takes care of me. You know, you're not doing robotic affirmations, you're not even doing affirmations in the first place. You're just injecting a thought subtly in a nonchalant way, and you go about your day. And whenever you become aware of yourself, I have already talked about this in previous videos. You have to become aware. You need to wake up. We get enchanted in our external reality, right? We're not aware of what you're doing. We're not aware of where our attention goes, right? So once we become aware, we can subtly, in a nonchalant way, we can inject a thought. My world takes care of me. And we do it like we do it in the gym, and we will do it when you're commuting to work. You do it whenever you have free time, whenever you're doing nothing, right? The more you inject this thought subtly, the more you inject this thought, the more you take control of the 95% that I talked about, right? So this is the start of your day, and this is the end of your day, and you already gained control of the start and the end, right? You do a technique where you already have your desire in your mind, and you do a technique in the morning where you already have your desire in your mind. So the most potent times are already covered. If you're not doing this, then forget about this video, right? The most important part is you taking control of your mind before you fall asleep and the moment you wake up. And you're doing this, the next step is to gain as much control as possible for the rest of the day. So, in many instances, you just inject any thought that is conducive to manifesting your desires, and you keep repeating it again and again throughout your day. And that is how you play offense, and you also play defense in this manifestation game. If you don't consciously inject the thoughts you want to be injected, then the world will inject thoughts for you. The world will inject thoughts that represent lack, that represent poverty, that represent anything that is not abundance, right? Because this is how you were for the last decade or so. You have been brought up, you grew in a household, in an environment where abundance was not the normal, right? So of course you need to do this regularly, or else the world will make you go back to your old ways. So take control of the moments before you fall asleep and the moment you wake up, and also take control of your thoughts whenever possible, wherever possible. You keep injecting the same thought again and again and again throughout your day. And don't change your thought. Once you choose what thought you want to inject, until that thought materializes into physical reality. For example, if I have the thought, my world takes care of me, if I genuinely see that reflection in my outer world, only then I am allowed to change it, right? So, for example, if some unexpected bill pops up, but someone else pays it for me, so that is a representation of my world taking care of me, right? So, only when I see external changes, external outer reality changes, I'm allowed to change my thought, my chosen thought. Until then, I keep repeating the same thought again and again and again, right? If you choose a generic thought like my world takes care of me, then there's no need to change it. But if you choose a specific thought, for example, my world brings high ticket clients to me effortlessly every month. That is very specific thought that you inject in your mind. And you are not allowed to change it until you get high ticket clients every month, right? So let me give you another example. If you have a thought, if you inject a thought, my world brings me the soulmate I'm looking for. Now that is a very specific thought. So until that thought comes into fruition in your 3D reality, you're not allowed to change the thought, right? So that is the rule. That is the rule I want you to follow, and that's how you gain control of your inner speech, and that's how you change your relationship to the world, right? So I just wanted to shoot this quick video to let people know what mistake they're doing, because most of the time they're not even aware to take control of their inner speech. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and if you want to work with me personally, then check out the link in the description where I can give you specific tailored advice and protocols to your own situation. And that's what people hire a coach nowadays, right? So if this video was helpful, then like or don't like, comment. Like, I view every comment that I get, so comment down whatever you think, and that's it. I will see you in another video. Cheers.